Hey everyone, welcome to Find Your Flow. I'm Natalie and today we have a practice to send lots and lots of love to the spinal space in particular, but generally all over the body to help support our posture. So hop on your mat and I'll meet you there. Okay, so jumping on in, we're going to start in a mountain pose and we're going to take a few minutes first to check in with our mountain pose. So when we're standing, wherever we are, whether we're at work, at home, out in a bar, shopping, whatever we're doing, we're checking in with exactly how we're standing to try and help us to not find as much discomfort in our standing posture. So coming to the front of your mat, we're going to stand in Tadasana with our feet hips distance apart roughly, toes track forwards, knees softly bend over the toes. But taking a moment here to just zoom in on Tadasana as a pose, starting with the space around the chest, the torso, the shoulders. And if we notice that we do have bad posture, that might be why we are checking in with this video. We might have a slight rounding here. Obviously I'm exaggerating it, but the shoulders come forward and we almost get a little Quasimodo effect. So firstly, thinking about rather than just coming the opposite way and sticking our chest out and finding pressure in a different space, we're going to come to center and then bring our thumbs to our armpits and find a little lift in the armpit chest. So notice how that feels for you. Very slight lift here. And what we're doing is rather than going too far one way or the other way, we're just helping to keep this long line in the spine the way it's supposed to be. So it's not a straight line, it is curved definitely in many places, but we're trying to keep that nice natural curve rather than over exaggerating in one space or another. So find that nice little armpit lift and then bring your hands to your shoulders. And when you're ready, take a deep breath in. Exhale, soften through the shoulders and let the hands literally feel the shoulders drop away from the ears. This is something that we might not realize that we're doing. And if somebody cues soften the shoulders, your shoulders can still be all the way up here. Again, exaggerating, but you get my point. So taking the hands to the shoulders and literally helping guide them away from the ears is really, really helpful. And then taking the arms down by your sides and checking in now with the pelvic space. So quite a lot of us might have either an anterior or a posterior pelvic tilt, and that's where you're coming too far one way or too far the other way. So what we're trying to do is find this space right in the center again, so we can have that long line all the way from the tailbone to the crown of the head. And so bringing the hands to the two bony landmarks either side of the hip points. We're going to have a little play, over exaggerating one way and the other, have a little feel, and then come to find that central space. And notice that yours might look very different to mine. Everybody's spines are different, everybody's bodies are different. So for me, being exactly how I am now feels really comfortable. Just check in with that feeling for you. But know that if doing all of this doesn't right away feel comfortable, that through regular yoga practice, whatever practice that you do, whether it's this practice multiple times, whether it's other general movement, the more you do, the more your body might start to feel a little bit more comfortable in a more upright, aligned posture. So recognizing that. And then checking in with the knees. We always say soften the knees here, but this is something that, again, we can easily overlook. So as soon as we start to think about other things, we can just lock our knees and hang out here. So being really, really mindful that we do have a micro bend in the knee space. And this helps to just keep everything soft. So when we come to our mountain, it is a really sturdy, strong pose. It's something that shouldn't be overlooked in our yoga practice. But making sure that we're not here like a soldier and still keeping everything nice and active, but in a softer, easier sense, so we can actually move when we need to. And then checking in all the way down with the soles of the feet. Super, super important here. Noticing, are we rocking to the edges of the feet? Are we rocking to the inner arches of the feet? Just noticing. And of course, everybody's got very different feet. So just listening to what feels good for you. Wherever we are though, can we spread through each of our toes and try and feel all 4 sides of the feet on the earth. So the inner arches, the outer edges, all the way around the heels, the toes. And again, keeping them here with this awake softness, making sure the toes aren't scrunching onto the mat so tight that they're turning white. And then with all of that said and done, take a moment here to find 3 breaths. And just checking in, arriving on the mat today, ready for our practice. Nice, and then keep breathing deep. We're just going to imagine that we have a piece of string from the crown of our head and it's pulling us towards the sky, seeing if we can reach a little taller without changing anything too much. We're just lifting tall, standing proud. And taking a moment before doing anything else to thank ourselves for showing up to this practice, for taking the time and carving it out of our really busy lives to fill our cup so we can help others fill theirs. So thank you all for joining me. We're going to start in our mountain pose, finding nice juicy neck circles. So moving at your own pace here. See if you can carve a really nice line with the nose, all the way down to the sides, all the way up. And then when you're ready, send your circle in the opposite direction. Nice. And when you're ready, gaze back to center. We're going to interlace the hands. And you reach the palms forwards, up, all the way to the sky. Take a deep breath in, exhale, soften the shoulders. And mindful here that the spine isn't doing all the work and we aren't getting this collapsing in any way. So keeping the lower body and the torso where it was, where we started, in that lovely long alignment. Reach a little taller, take one more breath. And then exhale, bring the hands to the back of the head. And keeping the elbows nice and wide, we're going to curl forwards, chin towards the chest, round through the spine. Mindful that we aren't rounding and doing all of this in the tailbone and the pelvic space, keeping it stacked as the spine rounds into flexion. And take one breath here. And rise back up, reach hands for the sky. Option here to gaze up if it feels good. Take one more breath. And then reach the hands forwards. And again, we're going to find that rounding through the spinal space. Breathing into the skin of the back body. And then coming back, hands come to the chest, to the heart space. And we lift our gaze towards the sky. Shoulders stay away from the ears. And nice. Last time we're going to reach all the way up. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, release the hands. Keep space between the palms as we float over to the right side. Mindful that the hips aren't doing all the work, keeping them stacked as we breathe into the side body space. And this really helps to stretch the intercostal muscles in between the ribs to help us to get a really juicy full inhale. So float through center, over to the left. Keep taking your deep breaths. And then float one more time over to the other side, a little bit more fluidly, like we're trees, like we're leaves of a palm tree, Come back to center. And now take hold of the right wrist with the left hand. Reach nice and tall. Imagine that piece of string from the crown of the head and then fold over towards the left side. Option here to gaze up if it feels good, if it's in your practice. And then float back to center. Take hold of the left wrist. Reach tall, fold over to the right side. Nice. Take a deep breath in. Long breath out, float to center. Hands come together and down at the heart. Keeping our thumbs towards our sternum here. Imagine we have 2 headlights on our hip points that we want to keep facing towards the front of our mat. We're going to very gently twist our torso over towards the right side. And we're not, taking our hands away from center, twisting in the hips. Everything's staying where it started as we find this rotation through the thoracic part of our spine. And then from here, we're going to bring our left hand to our ribs and reach our right hand back behind us. But mindful, are we just hoisting the shoulder around, or can we really find this rotation from the spine, from this part where the left hand is? And take one more breath here. Float your way back to center. Palms come together at the heart. Same thing on the other side. Hips stay facing forwards as we twist to the left. Shoulders away from the ears. And now let the right hand come to the ribs, left hand floats behind. Nice. Come all the way back to center. Release the arms down by your sides, and we're going to find a real heaviness in the arms and the head and neck. So we're going to do some roll downs and then roll ups. So imagine in here that we're like a rag doll. Our chin's going to come to our chest, and we're going to roll down super slowly, round through the spine. Knees stay soft. And as soon as you go as far as you can, we're going to roll all the way back up, but keeping the arms heavy. The head and neck are coming up last of all. We're restacking the spine. As soon as you lift up, come all the way back down. There's no need to rush here. Again, mindful of the feet. Have we started to scrunch in the toes? Nice. One more time, coming all the way down and all the way up. And then all the way back down. You might like to visualize here what the spine's doing, either from a more anatomical point of view, literally vertebrae, 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 all the bits in between, or maybe you just picture your spine moving like a wave, cresting and falling. And from here, we're going to lift up halfway. So we're finding a long, flat back, reaching our arms behind us like airplane wings. Lovely line from the crown of the head to the tip of the tailbone. Keep the knees soft. Take a deep breath in. Long breath out. Stay here for 2 more breaths. Imagine you have 2 little angels pulling your fingers away from you so the shoulders soften away from the ears. And on your next exhale, fold all the way down to the ground. Plant the palms, step the feet back, tabletop. Taking our nice sturdy tabletop here, wrists beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips, and checking in with the shoulder space first. So being really mindful of whether we're collapsing in the shoulders or not. And we're going to do some shoulder flossing. So doing exactly that. Collapse all the way down and press actively all the way up. Come down, lift up. So it's just like you're flossing your teeth. Just get a feel for how this is, the movement in the shoulder girdle, what's happening here. Nice. And the next time you lift up, stay there. We're almost finding a little doming effect in the upper back body, keeping our gaze down so the head and neck stay an extension of the spine. We're not dropping or crunching up in our tabletop. And then having a little bit more of a play with our spinal flexibility as we roll our tailbone down to the ground. Arch our spine towards the sky and drop our gaze now in between our thighs in cat pose. Take a breath, and then when you're ready, lift the tailbone. Roll through the spine, tummy floats down. We lift our gaze just in front of our hands in cow pose. Notice that we aren't collapsing back here. Keep flossing in the shoulders, pressing up and out. And then moving here a couple more times through cat and cow and just having a feel for this. Finding a little bit more of a fluidity and just generally having an overall little wiggle if that feels good. So don't worry too much about the perfect shape. Focus on the sensation over the shape and how this feels for you. Nice. One more time through cat and cow. And then meeting back in a neutral spine whenever you're ready. Awesome. From here, tucking the toes under, making sure that we're pressing all the way up and out of the shoulder space, active in the hands. We're going to hover the knees off the earth. And as we do this, thinking about drawing our navel towards our spine. So rather than clenching in the tummy, we're going to find just a slight activation here. Checking in with the deep abdominals to help strengthen the front body, to help protect the back body. Find one more breath here. And then bring the knees to the earth. Keep the toes tucked under as we walk the hands back. And just shake out through the wrists. And if this is way too much on the feet, then we can lift up onto the knees. Take whatever padding you need, of course, underneath the knee space. Just find nice big circles through the wrists, spread through each of the fingers. And every time we come to some sort of posture really, but particularly seats like this, is always an invitation to remind us to sit up tall. So practice everything that we have explored already. Lifting through the armpit chest, that lovely long line, the string from the crown of the head, soften the shoulders. Take one more deep breath here. And then jumping on forwards into our tabletop, untucking the toes. We're going to send the right leg back behind us, nice and long. Rock forwards, rock back, and then come to center and step the right foot over towards the left side of the mat. So don't worry if it goes off the mat. We're then going to take our gaze over towards the right foot, so over to the left side of the mat. And just peering back here, breathing into the side body space. Nice. And then float your way slowly back to center. We're going to bring our right hand to the middle of the mat and then float our left hand to our heart space. And as we inhale, we'll open our heart towards the left side and exhale to come back to center. Keep moving here. Inhale to open, finding a rotation. Exhale to center. One more time, lifting all the way up. This time staying there. Either taking our hand to our shoulder or lengthening our arm out long. We're going to find nice big circles through this left arm. So whether we're here or here, don't forget to breathe. Circle in the opposite direction. Nice. And then release back to center. Come to your tabletop. Send the left leg out long. Rock forwards. Rock back, easing into the back of the leg. Everything's connected. And then step that left foot over towards the right side. We're going to take our gaze past our right shoulder. Have a little peek at those left toes if we can. And breathe deep into the side body space. Nice. Come all the way back to center. Plant the left palm in the center this time. Right hand to the chest heart space. Inhale, open. Find space in your twist. Exhale, soften. Nice. Move in here. 2 more times. On your last time, stay there. Either hand to the shoulder or lengthen the arm as we find nice big circles. So we're getting lots of stuff moving here. We're finding a twist, but also sending some love and space to the shoulder. It helps to relieve tension we might be holding on to in the head and neck. Move in your circle in the opposite direction if we haven't already. Nice. And then making your way back to center in your tabletop. And from our tabletop, we're going to tuck the toes under, sit back onto the feet. We keep the hands on the ground as we reach the arms forward. Spread through the fingers, pressing into the palms as we send the tailbone high, downward facing dog. And our first down dog of our practice, so have a little wiggle. Don't be afraid to bend the knees. And as you bend the knees, notice how much more length we might be able to find in our spine. So always peek at me if you need to. But thinking about when we're obsessed with getting our heels to the ground and there maybe isn't the length, this round in our spine can come. And this does not feel great, I can tell you that. So when we bend our knees, We're then allowing this opening up in the back body, in the shoulder space, and we help to find that lovely long line from the tail to the crown. Yeah, and then have a little wiggle, breathe deep. Finding one more deep breath here. And then moving super, super slowly. We're going to come back to that hovering knee tabletop. So traveling as slow as we can go. Imagine like we're lowering our knees onto glass. Shoulders come back over the wrists. Knees hover off. Drawing navel in toward the spine. We're going to take 3 deep breaths here. Remember that shoulder flossing if we're starting to collapse. I know we're getting tired. And then from here, lengthen the left leg back, lengthen the right leg back. Come to a high plank. Nice. Have a little rock forwards, rock back. Long line from the head to the heels. We can always come to a low plank if we want to here. And take one more breath. And then everybody bring the knees to the earth. Walk them a little bit further back. And keep the arms reaching forward as we float our heart space down to the ground, finding puppy posture or Anahata Asana. And if the forehead doesn't come to the earth here, we can take whatever support from our brick or block to bridge the gap between the head and the ground. Really open into the shoulder space here. If we want to find a little more, we can lift onto our fingertips, tent the palms. And just breathe deep. You might like to visualize the space growing. I sometimes like to picture like a fiery orb of tightness or tension. Give it a certain color that works for me. And then as I breathe, I notice that orb dispersing and getting a much lighter color spread all across it. And that's just one of my ways of helping the space leave my... No, the space stays in my body to help the tension leave my body. But I'm rambling, and if that doesn't work for you, that's no problem. Take one more breath. And then come to the palms if you aren't already there. We're going to slide our way forward straight into a sphinx pose. So send the legs to the earth, hips down. Walking our elbows underneath our shoulder space. And as we press through the forearms and the palms, we'll draw our heart space forward. Open front body, strengthen back body. Shoulders roll away from the ears. Nice. And then taking our gaze over towards the right side. We keep lifted as we float over to the left side. Come all the way back to center. One more deep breath here. And as you exhale, release, come down to the ground. Float the arms back behind you. Let the palms hover off the ground. Take a deep breath. And as you exhale, lift the heart forwards. Keeping the back of the neck long so we're not crunching our gaze up. Strengthening the back body. Everything needs a balance between strength and flexibility to find that mobility where we can hopefully live in a little more comfort, a little more ease. So it's really, really important to find space, but also to tap into our strength. Take one more deep breath here. Exhale, release, plant palms to the earth, press up and straight back into a child's pose. Choose your own child's pose here. Knees together, knees wide. Arms forward, arms back, just making it work for you. Take one more breath here. And then slowly lift your way up. And we're going to finish here in a comfortable seat. So I recommend finding some sort of support to sit your hips up onto. I'm going to take a yoga block, but you don't need one. You can just have a couch cushion a bedroom pillow, a folded towel, a coat, a blanket, a duvet, literally anything in the world, just so you can sit your hips a little higher. And what this does is helps to find a little bit more space in the hips when we're still working on the flexibility there, and also a little more length through the spine. So you'll notice if we haven't got support and we maybe need some, that this is when this rounding and this collapse happens. So lifting up nice and tall. Going through our little mini checklist that we went through in our mountain pose, but doing it here in our version of our seat. Remember, if cross-legged doesn't work for you, find any other variation that does. You can even do this on a chair if you like. We're just going to finish our practice with a little bit of bodily appreciation, which we could all do with a little bit more of. So keeping the hands and resting them wherever they fall naturally. You'll start to breathe a little deeper. Close down the eyes if you feel comfortable. And if you are familiar with creating mantras of your own, then you might like to just go ahead and choose one that works for you. But if not, you might like to use the one that I'm going to suggest. And it's just repeating in your mind. If you want to, you can do it out loud. I love and appreciate my body and everything that it does for me. I love and appreciate my body and everything that it does for me. I love and appreciate my body and everything that it does for me. And trust the words that you've just said. Smile, soften the jaw, and bring the palms together at the heart if that resonates. Wherever you are, bow head towards the heart. And I thank you with all of my heart for joining me on the mat today. I hope you're feeling great. I look forward to practicing with you soon. From my heart to yours. Namaste.